Hi guys, sorry, it is me, ChazzaHD, and welcome to this Q&A after the German Grand Prix for 2018. And this is the start, guys, of a new series. After every race on a Monday night, only after a race on a Monday night, we'll be doing a Q&A called Q&A Monday. I think that's the simplest way I could, put that in terms of a series. It's going to be called Q&A Monday, and we're going to be doing this for 30 minutes after every race weekend. I just need to say something though before we get into the Q&A. My internet connection today has been quite dire, so if the stream does go off, then don't be surprised, because the reason my race review did not come out at 4 PM UK time like it was supposed to was because I've had a new router fitted and it's taking some time to get settled in terms of its connection. So again, if it goes off or it gets a bit buffery, then it should eventually get a bit better. So hopefully you guys can understand just the connection not being too great tonight like it was at the weekend for the watch-alongs and the race reaction. But before I start answering your questions, again, just to plug a couple things. One, if you want to join our community on Discord, go to the description. There's a link there to join the ChazHDF1 Discord server. If you want to follow me on Twitter, the link to that, the link to my bio, is in there as well. And if you follow me, you can keep up to date as to when I'm uploading, if there's any issues like today. And yeah, follow me on Twitter if you want to keep up to date with me and the channel. And don't forget to subscribe either on the bottom right of the screen, or go down to the description. Click the link or click my channel name and it should take you to my channel page. Don't forget to like and don't forget to comment on this video. And even if you did not watch this live and you have a question, put it down in the comment section, because I probably will answer it either, once it's gone up as a video, or I will answer it maybe another time in a podcast or something like that. So now, let's see what some of you guys are saying. Anyone got any questions? What would you rate the race out of 10? Oh, it's difficult. I'd probably say a 7. I don't think it was as good as Silverstone. I think Silverstone's probably an 8 or a 9. But the more I watch this race back, and I have watched the race back a couple of times, it just gets better and better for me. So I'd have to give it a 7, but I can't give it an 8 or a 9 because, yeah, I just don't think it was quite worthy enough of that. I think Silverstone was worthy of that, but not quite Hockenheim. What do you think of Hamilton's last corner cut? I clarified this in the video in my race review, which, by the way, if you've not checked out, make sure you do. I uploaded it about an hour and a half ago on the channel, so make sure you check it out. It wasn't, for me, a penalty for him because he can't do anything about that. The reason he entered the pits in the first place is because Bono, his engineer, told him to pit. Then he was going down the pit lane, and then was told to stay out, so he went back out onto the track. And yes, you could argue that it's dangerous and that he shouldn't have done it and just gone down the pit lane, but the team caused him to do it, so I don't think it should have been a penalty, and I don't think that type of penalty should have ruined the race, because it really would have. Will Mercedes blow their 2018 title at the end of the season? I don't think Mercedes will blow the title. I think if one team is going to blow it, it's going to be Ferrari and probably Sebastian Vettel, after what we've seen yesterday at the German Grand Prix. Because last season, Ferrari and Vettel blew it. And this season, even though Mercedes have made their mistakes on strategy, I do think that Ferrari and Vettel have made a lot of mistakes this year. I definitely think they made a lot of mistakes. Do you think Lewis should have got a penalty during the safety car? Again, no, I don't think he should have. What has been your favourite radio message of the season so far? Mine was in. That was from yesterday. I think, was it this year with Fernando Alonso? The "Now We Can Fight" team radio message? Was that from this year or was that from last year? If it's from this year, then I'd have to go with that, because considering their pace now, it's actually very funny. Favourite race of the season so far? I'd have to say Silverstone. The last 10 laps of Silverstone was absolutely fantastic. The excitement, the drama was exactly what you want in racing. It's exactly why we watch Formula 1. Right, it was this year. Okay, so yeah, my favourite team radio message is Alonso, now we can fight. Clearly, now they can't. How do you expect the midfield to finish this season? I still think it'll be Renault 4th, Haas 5th, Force India 6th. I want to get into Force India in a minute, though, because there has been some news about Force India today. I think McLaren will hang on to 7th, but I would not be surprised if they were passed by Sauber. And I'm going Sauber 8th, Toro Rosso 9th, and Williams in 10th. Now, to get into Force India, there has been a lot of rumours from very credible sources that Force India are about to enter administration and are really, really struggling for cash right now. And there's also rumours that Lance Stroll's dad, or Daddy Stroll, has bought Force India. Now, I don't know if that's true, but it all but confirms that Lance Stroll is going to be in a Force India. And you guys know my opinions on Lance Stroll. I don't like him as a driver. I think as a person, he's fine. I think he can be a bit whiny at times, but as a driver, he's not good enough to be in F1. And I don't think for Force India selling their soul to Daddy Stroll would be a good thing. I don't think it would, because I don't think in the long run they are going to benefit from it, because they're going to have to let go of Perez and Ocon if Stroll comes in. So yeah, I don't think that's going to work out for Force India. Quite a lot of questions tonight, and also people watching, so thank you for coming along. I did not expect this many people, so thank you for that. Just trying to read some questions. It's going very fast. Will Vettel run into Hamilton in Mexico again this year and get him a puncture? Let's wait until we get to Mexico. I mean, Vettel might be in the lead by 40 points, so it might be Hamilton who might do something like that, or if it's the other way round, you don't know. We need to see what the championship points are before we get to that stage of the season as to who needs to get desperate in terms of overtaking moves. Where will Checo and Ocon end up? If Stroll does go to Force India, I think both of them are going to go. I think Perez will go to Haas and replace Grosjean. And I think for Leclerc, just to mention, because obviously he has been rumoured with Haas, I think Leclerc will either stay at Sauber or go to Ferrari. And for Ocon, it looks as though he's going to Renault, but I still don't see it. I don't know why. I don't see it. I can see why they would go for him, because Esteban is a good driver, and I think this season has been very underrated, but they've already got Hülkenberg and Sainz there, who I think this year have done well. So, yeah, bit confusing. If you don't like team orders, then you better get used to them for the rest of the year. Will be team orders. Yep, there will be. I'm fine with team orders. I think most team order situations which get criticised, it's mostly, a big something over nothing. Like the whole Fernando is faster than you. I thought that was absolutely fine, and I didn't understand the reaction to that, because Massa was not in the championship, Alonso was, and they had to do it to try and better Fernando's championship bid at the time. So I don't understand why there was such a big reaction to that. I mean, I understand the whole Schumacher-Barrichello in Austria because that was pathetic considering that Michael had a massive gap in the championship anyway and was going to win it. Everyone knew he was. So there was no point in doing it. But with that Massa and Alonso thing, they had to. They had no choice. And Alonso was trying to pass Massa and they were getting pretty close. And if they had crashed, then you know that everyone would have been saying, oh, why didn't they call team orders? So they, you know, had to do it. I think another one that gets overly criticised is Multi-21. Yes, Sebastian was given a team order, but I don't think they should have been giving team orders at the second race of the season. And I think what happened there was just hard racing. So again, I don't understand why every time there's team orders, there has to be this massive outcry of people saying, oh, this is so unfair, when I think most people don't understand that F1 is a team sport. As I said in my race review, F1, at the end of the day, no matter what you think, is a team sport. They have to do it. Because if they don't do it, they're going to be ruining it once they get to Brazil and Abu Dhabi. But anyway, let's get back to your questions. Do you think Nico will get his first podium this year? No, I don't think he will. Because whenever it seems like he's going to, something bad happens or, you know, he'll crash like he did in Brazil in 2012, where he could have won the race but hit Lewis Hamilton and cost himself not only a podium but a race win. And as well, the Renault is just not fast enough. It's nowhere near fast enough to even stay on the same lap as a Red Bull or a Ferrari. So I don't see how it's going to be on the podium. If Stroll goes to Force India, who will be his teammate, Russell, Kubica or Ocon? I think it will be George Russell, because I don't want to predict it now and you know, predict it too early, but I think George Russell will win the F2 Championship because he has, over Lando Norris, a lot of momentum, and he's getting, you know, pole positions, race wins, and just looks right now a lot better than Norris in terms of his results. So I think Russell will win the championship in F2. And I think will deservedly get into that Force India. And I think should do something at least decent in that car. And I think Russell is another driver that goes under the radar. Very fast driver. Can, when he's having a bad weekend, it can turn out to be a very, very bad one. But I think when he's on it, he is a very, very fast racing driver. And I think he does deserve his chance in F1. Because if Stroll and Sirotkin can get in, then sure as hell George Russell deserves it. What is your favourite engine in F1? Mine was V8. I'd probably say the V10s from the mid-90s till the mid-2000s. I mean, obviously we had, you know, V12s and turbocharged in the 80s, but I think the V10s from the mid-90s to the mid-2000s, I think that was the best era of engines. So, yeah, I think that is my favourite. If Kimi is leading in Spa and Vettel cruises by, the outcry will be huge. It will, but if Vettel is putting him under pressure and getting close with him in terms of wheel-to-wheel racing, they have to do it. Because that is what F1 is about. It's about teamwork. The team matters more than the drivers. The team result matters more. And whatever the team wants, the team should get. Stroll and his dad... I'm not going to read that. That looks... Yeah, I'm not going to read that. Just trying to read some questions. Simple question. First team to go bankrupt. Williams. I think Williams could go bankrupt as soon as 2021. maybe say 2022 or 2023. I think they're very close to going out of business. And I know Force India are about to enter administration, but they actually have people that are trying to buy them. No one's trying to purchase Williams. So, yeah. How will Force India do next season with Stroll and Russell? If that was the lineup, then I think Russell would definitely beat Stroll. I don't have a doubt about that. I think Stroll and his results would definitely improve because the Force India car is better than the Williams. But I think compared to Russell, I don't think he'd beat him. I don't think he'd stand a chance. Because I think George Russell is a much better racing driver. Were you surprised when Nico and Lewis crashed into each other at the Spanish Grand Prix 2016? I was jumping up and down screaming because I just couldn't believe they made contact the way they did on the first lap of a race. Considering, of course, all the controversies in 2014 and 2015. Who's the worst, Kvyat, Palmer or Stroll? I think Palmer, because at least with Lance Stroll, he doesn't say things to infuriate the people that are criticising him, like me. Jolyon Palmer and his attitude was just so poor, and he would say some things which I thought were sometimes unprofessional, sometimes just hilarious in terms of the way he is. And yeah, I think Palmer is worse than Lance Stroll. That's why Jolyon Palmer is now a radio commentator, not a driver. Simple question, Leclerc or Verline is going to Haas? It won't be Verline because he's at Mercedes. Out of those two, it'll be Leclerc. No doubt about it. Bye, have a nice day. Hopefully you have a nice day too. Thank you for coming along. Why is no one buying Williams? Because their performances are not interesting enough for people to buy the team. At least with Force India, despite not having any cash, they're still scoring points and getting good results for investors to be interested in the team. No one's going to be interested in Williams because they're so poor and their results reflect that. Do you believe Ferrari will do well in Hungary? I think they'll be better than Mercedes for sure, but I don't think they will beat Red Bull. I think Red Bull will win in Hungary. It will still be close, but I do think Red Bull will take the win. Possibly a 1-2. It really depends on how quick and how Ferrari respond to what has happened at Hockenheim. What were the 5 best races this season? Silverstone first, then I would say Bahrain second. I think I did this last night, but I can't remember the exact order, and I'm probably going to change my mind again. Yeah, Silverstone first, Bahrain second, and I think I went China and Austria ahead of Hockenheim. That doesn't make Hockenheim a bad race, it just means that there's been other good races this season. Last question before I go. Will Vettel bounce back? In terms of pace, yes, at Hungary he will. But in terms of the mental side, I think it's going to take him until we come back after the summer break. Because having a race, straight away after what happened at Hockenheim, and considering his mood after he crashed, I don't think his mental state will be absolutely tip-top at Hungary, and I think Hamilton definitely is going to be a lot more confident going into Hungary. And let's remember, Hungary is a great track for Lewis Hamilton. He's won there in 2007, 2009, 2012, 2013 and 2016. And I think he's the joint holder for most race wins there, or he's very close with Michael Schumacher. So this is a good track for Hamilton, but if you remember back to last year, Hamilton was poor behind Bottas. in 4th place and behind the 2 Ferraris who dominated. So it's going to be interesting in Hungary. It really is. Sainz to McLaren, Ocon to Renault, Perez to Haas, Van Dorn and Grosjean out, Stroll to Force India. That's very plausible, but I don't think there'll be that many driver moves. I just don't see it. And I think Paul di Resta for Sky F1 said this as well, is there will be drivers moving around, but not as many as is being rumoured. And I agree. I don't think it'll be as dramatic as people are saying. I hope it is. I hope it is, but I don't think it will be. How will Ferrari do in Spa? Ferrari in Spa should have the fastest car because with the new wheelbase compared to last year and being longer, that should help them at Spa, because last year at Spa, with the different wheelbase, they weren't, they didn't have the fastest car, despite Vettel having 2 chances at passing Hamilton on the Kemmel Straight. Do you think Mercedes have a better chassis and better aero than Ferrari? Ferrari just have a much better engine in my opinion. I think Mercedes do have a better chassis and aero, but I think it's very close still. I think it's basically a case of in the slow corners the Ferrari is better, because in slow corners the Mercedes just doesn't tend to grip well, and especially coming out of a slow corner it tends to get oversteer. The Ferrari in the slow corners just looks very comfortable, kind of like last year, but in the high speed corners the Mercedes I think is not clearly the fastest, because the Red Bull chassis, of course, is very, very good in all types of corners. But in the high-speed corners, the Mercedes is definitely better than the Ferrari. But it is still very close between the two in terms of chassis and aero. But clearly, for me, the best chassis and aero on the grid is Red Bull. It is. If they had a Mercedes Ferrari power unit in their car, they would be running away with this title. Lewis was lucky. He did get some luck, but as I said in my race review, you have to be there to capitalise if you want to win races or get big points. Would you like to see F1 back at Indy? I think it could throw up races like the 2004 Grand Prix there. I think with DRS it would definitely be interesting, because coming off the banking, you would get such a monumental run going down to turn 1. It would definitely create good racing, but I just don't think F1 can attract a crowd at Indy. I mean, they're not attracting the greatest crowds of all time at the Circuit of Americas, so I don't think at Indy they're going to attract a massive crowd, especially after that 2005 debacle. And just to mention as well, talking about the United States, the Miami Grand Prix will not be happening in 2019. They have cancelled the Miami Grand Prix, but I think the Miami state officials are saying that they're aiming for 2020, so it is still technically on the cards, but I don't think this Miami race is ever going to happen. I think it's going to be like the New Jersey race, if anyone remembers that. Yeah, I don't think Miami's going to happen. I just don't see it. I don't know if there's actual genuine interest from the locals there. I don't think the track is that good. It just doesn't feel like there's going to be a race there. I just don't see it. Road America would be great. That track is good, but the problem is it's where it is. It's not very spectator friendly to the point of what F1 needs. So they need massive reconstruction, that track, in terms of grandstands and stuff like that. Please keep Germany or bring Istanbul and Nürburgring. I would love Turkey and the Nürburgring to be back on the grid, but I don't think those two circuits have any money. So I don't think it's ever going to happen. What about Laguna Seca? That would be a good track, but again, there's not the what am I trying to say? There's not enough or what did I say with Road America? It's not spectator friendly enough for F1's standards. You need to have at least a few grandstands for people to watch the race. And I know there are some, but the way F1 wants to, you know, have these races, they want to have loads of grandstands and hundreds of thousands of people. And I don't know at these tracks if they'll be able to do it without building some new ones. Ethan Jones, why are you ignoring my questions? I haven't actually seen your question because I think I've been going off on other points. But if you put the question back in, I will answer it. Who is a better qualifier, Hamilton or Vettel this year? This year, I'd say Vettel's the better qualifier, but I think overall, over their entire racing career, Lewis Hamilton clearly is a better qualifier than Sebastian Vettel. Vettel is a good qualifier, but I think Lewis is the best driver on the grid on one lap. Do you think Korea should return to F1? I think the track should, but not in that location. If they could build that track in Germany or, I don't know, France maybe, as an alternative to Paul Ricard, I would love to see it, but not at that location because no one turned up to that race. No one turned up. Which Dutch track would you prefer, Zandvoort or Assen? I don't really mind, to be honest. As long as there's a race in Holland, I don't really care. Because I think no matter where it is in Holland, there will be hundreds of thousands of Verstappen fans which will make that Grand Prix one of the best of the year in terms of atmosphere. So I don't really care where it's held because I don't think one track is a lot better than the other in terms of the corners and just the way the track is. Trying to just read. Every driver this season has now had a DNF. Okay. Haven't actually noticed that, so I'll go back and look just to make sure that is true. Can we hear a Kimi Räikkönen impression, please? I'm not going to do one. I'm definitely not doing one. Have you searched up the last F1 Grand Prix before you were born? Mine was the 2004 Belgian Grand Prix. I think the last Grand Prix before I was born was Jerez 97. Yeah, that one. What do you mean by works teams? I think we all know what works teams means. It basically means that the car, the chassis, everything, the engine is all designed basically in the same place. Come on, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm horrible at impressions. Works teams are like the manufacturing teams, Mercedes, Ferrari, Renault. You could technically count Red Bull, I guess, as a kind of works team next year with Honda. Not a full works team, of course, but yeah. Who is the better racer as a whole, Seb or Ham? Again, I'd have to say Hamilton. What was your favourite F1 season? 2012, I think. There are some good ones which I have on like DVD for like season reviews, and that I've gone back and watched, but I wasn't watching F1 at the time, so I can't say that those are the best seasons because I think watching it live is a lot different to actually watching it 10 years later. Just leave Chazza alone. He knows what he's doing. Has Vettel been better than Hamilton this season? I think he has. Even though Sebastian has made his mistakes, in terms of pace and consistency, I do think Sebastian has been better, but it doesn't matter because Lewis leads the championship by 17 points. So it doesn't matter if you're better, you've got to be leading the championship, of course. I think this year Seb has been faster, but Hamilton has been better, if that makes any sense. I think that's pretty much what I just said. Yeah, he's been faster, but Hamilton hasn't made any mistakes, really. He's kept it all together. He's done the best, I think, at times with a car that is not performing that well. So yeah, that makes sense. That definitely makes sense. Who do you think will win the World Championship this year? I am still holding on with Lewis Hamilton. I'm sticking with that prediction. I made it in March. And I haven't seen evidence as of yet to suggest that Sebastian Vettel will win the title this year. I haven't seen enough evidence to suggest that. Right, I'm going to read out probably 3 more questions, then I will come off because we've gone about 30 minutes. So I'll do about 3 more questions, so get your questions in. Just reading through now. There are some good ones, and thank you for posting your questions tonight. They have been good. How did you get interested in F1? I didn't really have like a direct route into F1 in terms of interest. It was kind of by chance. I think it was the Japanese Grand Prix of 2011, which if anyone lives in the UK, you know that those races take place at 6, 7 a.m. in the morning. And it was in October, and I think one night I was just struggling to sleep, or I woke up early. And that was the only thing on TV, so I watched that, and it was fantastic. If you can go back and watch that race, I recommend you do, because it was a good race. And ever since then, I've had an interest. And then I probably started watching at the start of 2012, and because of how exciting that season was, I was never going to leave F1 in terms of watching it. There was no chance I was going to leave F1. What is the worst team to ever join F1? I am saying Manor. I guess you're saying there with MRT. It's difficult to say because there's been so many teams that have entered Formula 1. If you actually go to the Wikipedia and you put in, I think, list of Formula 1 teams, there are so many that you haven't heard of. That's not including the ones you have. So it's difficult to say which is the worst, but the worst of my memory, I would say, is probably Lola. I think in the mid-90s. I think they did about 1 season or 2 seasons, and then they went out of business. I think at the start of 97, they were just terrible. HRT, yep, that's another one. They were so poor. They never got better. They never showed any real intention of actually doing well. And as Into the Barrier said a few years ago, they were a horrendous racing team. Right, I'm now looking for the final question. Make sure you get your question in if you want it answered. Right. I'm just looking through now, scrolling up and down. I picked the question that I'm going to end on. By Andrew Drury. What is the worst F1 season that you have seen? In terms of watching live since 2012, I would have to say 2015. That season was so bad. The first 8 races were quite possibly the worst 8-race stretch for quite possibly... I can't even think of a 8-race stretch which was that bad. I don't think there's ever been one. It was that bad. There was just no real racing. The cars couldn't follow each other. Mercedes were dominating all the time. I just thought it was so terrible. Thought the cars looked terrible. Again, they couldn't really race each other. So yeah, I thought 2015 was so poor. And I think in 2015 we probably only got 3 or 4 good races in about 19. That is not good enough. There was Malaysia. That was a good race, but if you look at those first 8 races of that season, it was so bad. Please do not go back and watch those first 8 races. I think it was Australia, Malaysia, China, Bahrain, Spain, Monaco, Canada, Austria. Wow, they were so bad. So bad. Thank God we have had, some exciting racing this season. And I know Spain, Monaco, Canada and France, let's be honest, wasn't great, and also Australia. But the racing in Bahrain, China, Baku, Austria, Silverstone and Hockenheim has really made this season a good one. And I think the best season of the hybrid era. So thank God that we've had that this season. But anyway, guys, that is it for the Q&A. Thank you all for coming along to ask me some questions. And yeah, I've had fun doing so. Just to let you guys know, there will be no video tomorrow on Tuesday or on Wednesday. If Hamilton did get a penalty yesterday, I would have done a video tomorrow, but because he didn't, I don't really feel like there's any more videos to do about the German Grand Prix at Hockenheim, so I won't be doing a video now until Thursday, which will be the preview for the Hungarian Grand Prix, where I will give my predictions for who I think will get pole and the race win. So don't forget to join me on Thursday for that recorded Hungarian Grand Prix preview at 4 PM UK time. Hopefully my internet is sorted by then, so that can come out on time. Again, if you want to join the Chatter HD F1 Discord server, the link to that is in the description. If you want to follow me on Twitter for updates about my channel and when I'm uploading and what I'm doing, follow me on Twitter. A link to that is down below. Don't forget to subscribe either on the bottom right of the screen. Go to the description to click on my channel page link, or you can click on my channel name and do it that way. Don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to comment down below any questions that you have that you want to ask, that you would have asked if you came around during the live stream, and I will either answer it when I see it, or maybe for the next Q&A Monday, next Monday, I will answer it then. But thank you guys for coming around and asking me questions. Again, it was really fun. And I will see all of you on Thursday afternoon.